The world watched in horror as Nazi Germany, under the iron fist of Adolf Hitler, marched across Europe, and the year was 1939, and the flames of war had been ignited. However, it wasn't until the fateful day of December 7th, 1941, with the WWII's Japanese, the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, that America was drawn into the global conflict. Millions of young men, ordinary citizens, transformed into soldiers overnight, answered their nation's call. They left behind their families, their jobs, and their lives to defend freedom and face an uncertain future on distant battlefields. The United States, a country that once cherished isolationism, was now a pivotal player in the largest war humanity had ever seen. From the beaches of Normandy to the islands of the Pacific, American soldiers found themselves locked in a life or death struggle against the Axis powers. Their stories, a tapestry woven from courage, fear, sacrifice, and hope, deserve to be remembered and understood. Military life during World War II was a stark departure from the normalcy these men knew. Basic training transformed them from civilians into fighting units, drilling discipline, physical endurance, and weapons handling into their daily routines. Days were long, filled with grueling marches, marksmanship practice, and endless drills. Despite the constant preparation for combat, nothing could fully prepare them for the brutal realities of war. Life on the front lines was a chaotic mix of adrenaline-fueled firefights, agonizing boredom, and the ever-present threat of death. Soldiers dug trenches, stood guard duty, and lived in constant fear of enemy attacks. Sleep was a luxury snatched in short bursts amidst the deafening roar of artillery fire and the chilling cries of wounded men.
Yeah, I remember those days. The training was tough, but it was nothing compared to the real thing. We were always on edge, never knowing when the next attack would come. It was a constant battle just to stay alive.
The physical wounds of war were readily apparent, but the invisible scars left on the minds of soldiers ran far deeper. Shell shock, later known as combat fatigue or post-traumatic stress disorder, became a silent epidemic. The relentless pressure of combat, the loss of comrades, and the constant exposure to death took a heavy toll.
It wasn't just the bullets and bombs that got to us. It was the memories, the faces of friends we lost. Those stayed with you, haunted you, long after the fighting stopped.
Soldiers struggled to cope with the psychological trauma. Nightmares haunted their sleep. Flashbacks transported them back to the horrors of the battlefield. And survivors' guilt gnawed at their souls.
We did what we could to help them, but sometimes it felt like there was nothing we could do. The physical wounds we could treat, but the mental scars, those were much harder to heal. Many turned to alcohol, cigarettes, or simply withdrew into themselves, unable to articulate the horrors they had witnessed.
Section 4, Gruesome Realities, the Battlefield's Brutal Embrace. The battlefields of World War II were landscapes of unimaginable brutality.
Soldiers faced a grim reality of death, disfigurement, and destruction. The stench of rotting flesh permeated the air, a constant reminder of the human cost of war.
Men witnessed their friends torn apart by machine gun fire, their bodies mangled beyond recognition.
Amputations were commonplace, a desperate attempt to save lives shattered by shrapnel and high-velocity bullets.
The psychological toll of taking another human life weighed heavily on their consciences, a burden they would carry long after the guns fell silent.
Section 5, Bonds forged in fire, camaraderie, and resilience in the face of adversity. Amidst the horrors of war, an unbreakable bond of camaraderie emerged among the soldiers.
They fought side by side, relying on each other for survival. Shared experiences, both terrifying and mundane, forged a deep sense of brotherhood.
Humor, often dark and sardonic, became a coping mechanism, a way to find light in the darkest of times.
The resilience of these men was nothing short of remarkable. They faced unimaginable hardships, witnessed unspeakable horrors, yet they continued to fight with unwavering determination.
Their sacrifices, their bravery, and their unwavering commitment to their comrades defined an entire generation.